Lesson 3, Contract Negotiation Secrets. In this lesson, you'll learn tips for negotiating your salary and benefits and what should be included in your contract. You can download the contract checklist and negotiation strategies guide. Section 1, Negotiation Strategies. Let's go over some general tips for negotiating your salary. Tip number 1, know what the cost of living is and typical salaries for teachers. Like we talked about before, create a sample budget using numbeo.com for the specific location where you'd like to teach. Also, reach out to current teachers. You can find them on Tefl teacher forums with similar qualifications and experience to get an idea of what typical salaries are like. Tip number 2 is to make a list of benefits. Write down your must-haves and your nice-to-haves. So must-haves are things that are non-negotiable for you that you absolutely want in your contract. And nice-to-haves are things that, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but they aren't going to make or break it. Examples of typical benefits are health insurance, accommodation, a flight allowance, a finishing bonus, paid vacation, and more. Number 3 is to negotiate until you see a pay scale. If the school or the program doesn't mention a pay scale, then negotiate your salary and benefits. If they mention that they have a pay scale, you can still negotiate the conditions of your contract. Number 4, if you're in a program that has a set stipend or salary, this is when you need to negotiate your conditions. You're not going to be able to negotiate the actual money involved. But maybe you can talk to them about the levels you'll be working with or the types of classes, any sort of prep periods or lunch breaks. Try to negotiate with these teaching conditions. My 5th tip is to sign a copy of your contract in both languages. You should have a copy of the contract in English and the local language. And of course, have somebody who speaks both of these languages check them over to make sure that they match, because there have definitely been times where the local language contract said one thing and the English one said something else. Number 6, use other job offers as leverage. For example, let's say that you did interviews at 5 different schools and you have 5 different offers. If you have a school that you really like, but they're offering you less, then let them know that they're your top choice, but another school has offered more. This is going to help you negotiate your salary. My 7th tip is to be culturally sensitive. In some countries, open negotiations like this or even talking about money is a bit taboo. Speak with a local and get an idea of how much you can negotiate and how to do it in a polite way. I've also included some tips from the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And if you haven't read this book, then I highly recommend it before you start your negotiations. The first tip from his book is to use numbers to show your value. So as humans, we put a lot of value in numbers, so use these numbers to your advantage. You could talk about the number of learners you've taught, the percentage of how many have passed exams, or you could talk about the rate your student's language level has increased after working with you. Basically, any numbers that you can think of to use as examples. The second tip from this book is when asking for a specific salary, give a range. For example, I'm looking to earn between X and Y per month. You should always expect the employer to come in on the lower end of the range, so don't be afraid to give a higher Y number. When you give a range instead of a specific number, this is making the employer feel like they have a bit more control, and it does help the negotiation process. The third tip from this book is to use a random number instead of a rounded number. Psychologically, a number that isn't rounded makes it seem like you've done careful calculations to come to this number. I recommend using this random number after you've already started to negotiate using that range. The fourth tip from Never Split the Difference is if they won't budge on salary, negotiate with things that are important to you that might not be very important to your employer. So think about different non-monetary things like more prep time, a longer lunch break, getting to finish earlier on Fridays, different vacation days, You get the idea. Some of these things might not be very important to your employer, but they could be very important to you. Section 2, what's in the contract? The first thing you want to check is the salary. Is this the number before or after tax? Also, check the currency. Normally, it's going to be listed in the local currency. After that, look at the job description. What duties will you be required to perform? This is important because maybe you're 2 months in and they're starting to ask you to perform duties that aren't on your contract. Well, you can always come back to your contract for reference. Next, you'll want to make sure there is visa information on your contract. So which visa? Is it a student visa, a work visa, a freelancer visa? Also, who is responsible for the fees? Are they going to be covering the visa fees, or are you responsible for the fees and paperwork? The contract needs to have information about your benefits as well, and I'll go into more detail about benefits after this. Next, look at the contract length. Is it for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? What about early termination? What happens if you have to leave before your contract finishes? Some contracts are going to have you pay a penalty. Others won't allow you to have your final payments. But what if an emergency happens? Make sure that there's some information about what happens if you need to leave early. And the last thing you need to check for seems a bit strange, but this is a common scam. Make sure that the name of the school matches the one that you interviewed with. There have been times where people have interviewed at one school, but a different school was listed on the contract. So definitely check for this information. Let's take a look at some of the typical benefits, and this information should be included on your contract as well. First of all, healthcare. Does the program provide it, or do you have to pay for it out of your salary? Next, check for information about sick leave. Believe it or not, I've actually worked for some places that didn't give us any sick days, which right now is very important. What about vacation days? Do these match with local holidays, or are the vacation days under your control? See what kind of information there is about your vacation. Also check to see if vacation days are paid or unpaid. And what about the flight allowance? How much is it? Are you going to be reimbursed? Is this part of your salary? Is this part of your package? Look at the information they've included about the flight allowance if there is one. If there's a contract completion bonus, check for information about when you are paid this and how much, and what happens to this bonus if you leave early, which usually means that you wouldn't get it. Finally, check for information about your housing stipend details. Does the school pay the landlord, or do you? Do you have to pay a housing deposit? Is this part of your salary? You want to make sure all of these questions are answered in your contract. In the next module, you'll learn how to avoid common teach abroad scams and find out where to look for teach abroad jobs. Before you're ready for Module 4, you have one final step. Download the 3rd page of your Teach Abroad plan and fill out the resume and interview practice checklist. Your job abroad is an opportunity to meet new people, travel to new places, and have new experiences abroad. It's both challenging and exciting, and I can't wait to see where you end up. I'll see you in Module 4.